Thank you very much. Now, the key features of China's coordinated initiative, that is the One Belt, One Road, OBOR, the Maritime Silk Route, the MSR, and the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB, has brought opportunities for mutual development. At the same time, it has provided certain economic benefits to the two countries with some degree of exploitation of some countries. And when I use the word exploitation, not in a malicious way, but by ignoring or leaving aside other countries who are involved in that. Now, the extensive coverage of the initiative across the long maritime Silk Road and its impact indeed is even beyond, and it still continues. It is a major contrast to the linkages and exploitations, for example, that took place between former colonial powers and their foreign subjects. Even there too, it was not without some benefits. I am a Sri Lankan, ex-British colony, but I am speaking English, and all of you are using the language English as well. So there are certain benefits which are listed and which continue. Now, some of China's major impact is in keeping certain of its, shall we say, his exchanges becoming something that is global and accepted as such. Now, for example, Sri Lanka's assistance in developing the port of Colombo as a port city was something that led to a great deal of strategic concerns of some of our island's neighbors, as well as also nations beyond the Indian Ocean. This caused considerable delays in its implementation. And as a slightly easier way of dealing with this whole question of linkages, we had the Hambantota project, which of course, though the Chinese supported, has not been able to do what it could do because of certain things. And I still remember talking to one of my Chinese colleagues in Beijing when I asked him, why on earth did you stop this? And they also said that when other ships come in through, whether it's a Japanese ship or whatever, going across there, if they stopped in Hambantota, and if somebody, the captain was not well, there was no medical support he could get. Or if there was some technical problem in their ship, there was no guy who was coming proficient enough to repair it. And therefore, the emphasis moved really to Colombo, although it involved a certain upward movement as well. Now, the upward movement has another problem because if you look at the Indian situation and Mumbai, up to a point, Colombo now has become a port city after a considerable amount of delay on it, and it's only now that it is getting really implemented. And there too, India had difficulties because it was losing some of the, shall we say, transit activities, because it meant going right up to Mumbai, coming down again, loss of time, loss of space, whereas Colombo was that way much easier. So basically, we are now finalizing the aspects of this whole question of Sri Lanka's port city of Colombo. Given Sri Lanka's virtually central geographic situation in the Indian Ocean region, so close to India, particularly its southern region and Tamil Nadu there have been also within Sri Lanka a large number of complex ethnocentric issues that needed to be handled with considerable care. These are being currently dealt with considerable political sensitivity between the two SAARC neighbors. Now, the excesses of the now vanquished terrorist group, the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, caused diabolically violent problems, including the group's assassination. And also it was hoping that there would be some sort of linkages with India, but it caused also diabolically violent problems, including the group's assassination of even two respective prime ministers, one of India and one of Sri Lanka, and thousands of other deaths. So China's military intelligence and other assistance to Sri Lanka in this conflict was one of the aspects that helped us to defeat the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, because the Indians, for example, did not want to get involved in that. Now, terrorism has been knocked out, and I think the ethnic tension between Sri Lanka and India has now abated. And at the present time, Tamil Nadu does not and cannot encourage any forms of terrorism against Sri Lanka. Now, having served respectively in diplomatic missions both in India and China, it is interesting to note that the cooperative activities between the three countries now, despite a few bilateral issues of course, do maintain good relations which help the trio to function well. Then of course the whole question of the respective rise of China and India is currently a global economic, political and security issues that is being currently prominent in consideration of international relations, particularly in think tanks and so on, and also by the media. Some bilateral issues do exist, where political and international issues cause consideration for internal situations. However, no major bilateral issue of their direct strategic concern affect Sri Lanka. So, security aspects affecting the island can be discussed at a bilateral level. Then of course, in May of this year, Beijing hosted what was sort of a meeting for a roundtable of Belt and Road Forum. And in this, a large number of countries participated. It was chaired by the President himself, Xi Jinping, but there was no Indian participation. There was no US participation. But virtually all the other countries ranging from East European countries, etc., and also, most important, the UN, the World Bank and the IMF all participated, basically accepting that this whole forum and this whole idea of linkages was something that needed to be worked out. So this is rather very interesting to see how this is still working. And my colleagues from the Sri Lanka corporate sector who were participating at this summit may have provided, I'm not sure what happened, some clarification on many of the economic issues which you would require in the context of this active Belt and Road Initiative, the Asia Infrastructure Bank, as well as the island's own current economic and trade reform activities. So beyond purely the domestic action, these would include external actions which are very important, such as tariff liberalization, development of favorable foreign preferential trading agreements, and technological advances in the manufacturing and agricultural sector. Now, in these, China's support for many aspects of these has become vital. So, to that extent, new projects being launched need to be more efficiently and carefully implemented without stirring third country concerns. And this is something that I myself have personally been talking to some of my Chinese colleagues. It's been understood that they should, if they have to work out some bilateral and other issues, not antagonize the outside world as well.